Hey, these are some tips I've learned as a beginner skater. Alright, that's a lot better. Hey guys, let's try this again. So, these are some tips that I've gained and I've learned from skating, and I wanted to share with you guys. When you're starting skating, there's some things you gotta take in consideration, like what you want to accomplish. Like, some people like cruising around, and that's something they want to do, so there's no point in buying a skateboard for that when you could buy a cruiser board or possibly a longboard. But then there's people who want to get into tricks and other things like that, and a cruiser board might work for ollies, but other than that, it's kind of useless. If you want to do tricks and things like that, then the best thing to do is to get a skateboard. So learning what you want to do is probably the first step in getting that, because if you figure out what you want to do and how you want to skate, then that should be your first, that's like the first tip or the first step in starting skateboarding or riding in general. The next step would be, or tip I'd give you, is to learn how, like, the anatomy and the parts that go into a skateboard. What I mean by anatomy of a skateboard would be all the parts that go into it. You know, like this right here. This thing, it's called a deck. Deck is, most people know this, but that's what you stand on for your board. And things you want to know with the deck is you want to know the size of it, the concave things. They don't really affect your skill. They're more like a preference in what you'd rather. Like for me, I like wider boards. That's why this was my first size I ever got, was a size 8 inches. But I like bigger than that. So that's what I do, but that's my preference. But a lot of skateboarding is trial and error. Next part of the deck itself is grip tape. Grip tape is pretty much sandpaper, but it's not. It's just the part that helps your feet stay to the board, and when you do tricks, helps keep the grippiness. I like super grippy grip tape. I want it to be like suction cup to my feet. I prefer that better. Most people like, or some people like very like smooth or not as sticky, but I like mine to like really grip. But the issue with that is it also destroys shoes faster, so it's like pros and cons, I guess. Next part of a skateboard would be trucks. Trucks are the things that hold your wheels and give you the ability to grind or pretty much ride. I mean, without them, you can't really do much. Whole weird thing with trucks, like they're not like, oh, you have an 8-inch deck, so here's 8-inch trucks. No, that's not how it works. It runs off of inches, but the trucks run off millimeters. I have no idea why, but that's something that just how companies do it. But every company you buy trucks from have like a sizing sheet on their website and things like that, and that helps you figure out what size is best for the board you have. The next part of skateboard anatomy would definitely be bushings. So bushings are the thing that give you the ability to turn. There's hard, soft, and medium. Those are the options you have for bushings. Not on this skateboard, but on the skateboard I use most of the time in most of my videos, I use medium-sized bushings. I go medium because I like turning a lot, but I also want to keep that riding straight mentality thing. So I don't want to turn constantly, but I want to turn a good amount because I like carving down hills and things like that. The next part of a skateboard is the wheels. So wheels, what's cool about them is that there's a lot of different types and a lot of different sizes. Wheels run off millimeters again, just like the trucks. Depending on what you're trying to do, the wheel size and hardness matters, because if you want to do a lot of like street skating, things like that, you want smaller, like these wheels, and harder, because the harder it is, the more you can slide and do different types of tricks. You kind of need harder wheels for that. But say you wanted to cruise around, go down hills, things like that, you're gonna want softer wheels, and those are typically on like cruiser boards or long boards and even penny boards. Those type of wheels are good for if you want to go down hills and things like that. It's less bumpy. Like these, when you ride, you can feel everything. You feel every rock, you feel every bump in the road. But if you have the softer wheels, you don't really feel as much, and it's a lot smoother ride. So depending on your preference on what you want to do, that matters for the wheels. Next part of the skateboard would definitely be the bearings. So the bearings are these little things that go inside the wheel, and they give the wheel the ability to spin. There's a lot of different options. There's like real expensive ones. There's reds. They're kind of like the more affordable one most people go to. Usually the cheaper the bearing is, the worse it is. You don't want to kind of stinge on that, because then you just can't roll at all. Also, bearings get dirty, real dirty, after a while using them, and if you run them through water or when it rains, it really messes them up. I know ceramic bearings are kind of on the higher end of price range, but they're supposed to be way more water resistant than regular ones, so they last longer. So you pay a little more, but they do last longer in the end. I've never bought them, so I have no idea what they're really like. I personally have only bought reds. Next part of the skateboard would definitely be these things. They're called hardware. Hardware is what puts everything together. So you could assemble everything for the trucks, get everything here in this end. You got your wheels, your bearings, truck, bushings, all of that. And then you want to attach them with hardware. Hardware is pretty much just nuts and bolts. I mean, that's just the term for it. It's not something it's like, oh yeah, ooh, but yeah. Hardware, extremely important because it puts it all together and gets you a full, complete skateboard. You kind of want to know every piece of it, because if something goes wrong, you want to know why it's going wrong. So I personally think it's good to know all that information. So that's why I wanted to include in the video, because I think it's a good tip to know everything with your skateboard. I guess we could skate for a little bit. It's kind of nice out. We'll do a little bit of skating, and then we'll do into more tips. So yeah. Pebbles. The skate anatomy, I think the best thing to do is learn the basics. You should learn if you ride regular or goofy. Best way to learn what your stance is would be to get socks on and slide on some hardwood flooring, and whatever foot you put first, that would be the foot you would probably ride the front of your skateboard. If you ride with your right foot forward, you are goofy. That's what I am. And if you ride with your left foot forward, then you are regular. So once you've learned what footing you are, the best thing to do now is learn how to push. Learning how to push it's kind of hard at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's something if you keep doing, you get better at, and when you're better at it, you just become a better skateboarder as a whole. My advice would be, when you're first starting, just ride around, just cruise, have a good time, learn how to push, learn how to stop, learn how to turn, learn these things before you learn any trick. Because once you start learning tricks, if you don't know those things properly, you're gonna have a harder time learning tricks. When you're starting out, learn how to ride, learn how to stop, learn how to turn, and then after that, then you can start learning tricks once you're comfortable and you can do it very well. Now onto the trick part. If we're starting to learn tricks, I think the best trick, and the first trick you should definitely learn, is the ollie. Learning the ollie really just opens up your world when it comes to skateboarding. Master the other parts of stopping, turning, going down hills, things like that, and then you learn the ollie on top of that, you could ride anywhere in the world and you'd be fine. Alright, so after you've gotten the basics down, you want to start learning tricks. But tricks, again, don't come easy. They're something you got to work at, and you know, constant repetition, constant practice helps you out a lot in doing that. Don't give up. You know, these things don't come easy. They take time, they take practice. Even the best skateboarders in the world could say sometimes there's tricks that take them years, days, I don't even know how long to complete. So these are things that, you know, don't discourage yourself because they're not easy. I find very helpful is why actually I make YouTube videos, but I use that to try to reach out to people to find help in areas that I might need help in, and critiques and things like that. It helps out going either talking to friends that also skateboard, or if you don't have any like I do, I don't have any that skateboard at the moment, I use the online, I use the internet. On Reddit, there's new skateboarding that helps out new skateboarders, ask people who actually know how to skateboard for critiques and tips, things like that. So Reddit's a good place to go. Also YouTube is also a great place. Find other YouTubers who are also starting to skateboard. You know, using the internet helps out a lot when you're trying to figure out things. But from that, I have to say there isn't like a clear like, oh, if you do this you're gonna nail it every time. You know, everyone's different, people skate different ways, so it's good to get advice, but no one's going to give you a clear-cut answer of what to do and what not to do. No one's going to have the right answer for you, but they might give you an idea that helps you find that answer. Definitely when you're learning tricks, they're not easy, they don't come quick. Definitely go on the internet or ask friends and other skateboarders, because most of the time they're in the same situation you're in, so they're going to help. My gosh, I got super car sick doing that. That was not a good idea. Hope it looks cool. My next tip would definitely be the fact that, you know, you're gonna fall. Falling is normal. It comes probably every time I go skateboarding, I fall. Kind of got to just be prepared for it. I mean, falling's just gonna happen. It's something to where, you know, everyone does it. It's something to not be ashamed of, things like that. It's just something that happens. And, you know, you might get hurt, you might not get hurt, but I think most of the time people get hurt is when they're nervous and they tense up, and that tenseness makes them fall. My tip for that is, you know, if you're really uncomfortable about falling, I know one thing that helped me out, especially when I tried dropping in, is a helmet. Helmets really do give you that kind of confidence boost that, you know, at least I'm not gonna really mess up my head. So I have a helmet. I have it for especially when skate parks are like, oh, you need helmets. I'm not getting kicked out for some dumb reason. So I bring in, I wear it when I'm definitely at a skate park. Sometimes I don't wear it when I'm street skating. It's more just because I forget to grab it or things like that. It's not because I'm like, ooh, against helmets. No, it's more just I forget, really. Back to falling. Falling is inevitable. It's gonna happen. You are probably going to get hurt. I mean, I've never really had any serious injuries. The only injury I ever had was I fell and slammed my heel into concrete, and that kind of hurt. My biggest advice would be to fully commit. When you fully commit into things, more or less you're either gonna do it or you're gonna be able to roll out of it so you don't get hurt. Also, know your boundaries. That's kind of another tip. Because if you don't realize that you can't do certain things and you just try it because you're on that adrenaline rush, you're gonna get hurt. I mean, it's better to keep the idea of what your abilities are and work on things that are in your abilities. Your abilities will grow, so eventually you'll be able to do things that maybe you thought you couldn't do, but definitely don't overdo it, but also don't be afraid of hurting yourself or falling, because more or less, don't be afraid of falling. It's okay to be afraid of getting hurt. No one wants to get hurt. But definitely don't be afraid of falling, because it's just going to happen. You just kind of have to get used to it. Roll with it. I mean, that's the best advice I could give you. The thing about skateboarding is I love doing it. I love everything about it. I wish I could do it every day, and I wish I could do it for a living. That'd be the dream job. But skateboarding it's kind of expensive. I mean, there's a lot to it. As I said in the beginning, with all the parts and everything, all those cost money. Everything. Some things come, like the bushings do come with trucks, but they're usually not good, so it's good to replace them, so that's expensive. I mean, in total, you're probably thinking about spending around 150 bucks for a full, complete, everything skateboard. If it was just a 150 purchase price, then that's not that bad. But, you know, your boards will go. I mean, you chip them, you break them, you wear them out, you get razor tail. These are things to where that happens, and then you have to buy new boards. Trucks are kind of the one thing that kind of lasts a good while, so they're kind of nice. They're kind of expensive, but you buy them once, you're good for a couple years. But like wheels, the same way, you're probably good for a while, unless you do a lot of power slides, which wear them out. Shoes are also expensive, and you wear through them kind of quick because you're rubbing your feet on sandpaper pretty much. So expensive thing to do, a hobby or sport, whatever you want to call it, but definitely still a lot of fun, and I would spend all my money again. Like, it's something where I don't care spending the money on it because I do it and I love to do it. The most important part about skateboarding is just having fun. I mean, do what makes you feel happy. If just riding around is what your cup of tea, go do that. You don't need to learn tricks. If learning tricks is your cup of tea, just learn tricks. You don't need to do any of that other stuff. It's something to where do what makes you happy and just have a good time doing it. And that's kind of it. I'll say, hey, thanks for watching the whole thing. If you did, subscribe if you're new, give it a like, helps me out. Comment for future video ideas and things I'm doing right, things I'm doing wrong, helps. Also, I have a Spotify account that you guys could follow and look at playlists that I make. For me, I love watching, when I watch YouTube, I love wondering, hey, I wonder what they listen to or what's their music taste. So that's what I kind of want to do for my channel. So I have a Spotify that you could use and look into, and it's in the description. I'll put it in the description what the username is. I have an Instagram now for this channel, so give that one a follow too. Also be in the description. But other than that, you have a great day. See you. Another tip I forgot to actually mention, but definitely bring water. Water is so important. It's probably one of the main things I can take out of this video.